haven't had one in 2 days. I'm kind of freaking out.
But the
Actually, I think I'm gonna
pre-workout.
go to the store today after I'm done with this. I'm gonna because I gotta get some bacon and stuff from the store. So
Oh my gosh, I love it, man. I love it. Well, cool, man. I'm glad we were able to connect on here and do this. I know we've been trying to do this a while.
mhm.
And your story, I mean, you as a person just fascinate me because of what you've attained already and all this cool stuff. So I really wanted to get on this call and do this. So this is awesome, man. I appreciate it. And really, I kind of just, I'd want to go all the way back, like speaking financially and like going all the way back to when maybe I don't know if it goes back to graduating high school and starting working and just maybe your mentality at that time frame, like coming out of school and how you thought about money. But can you kind of take me back there? And because you've got an incredible story to be in so much debt and to get out in such a quick period of time. We'll go into all those details, but to kick it all the way back, man, that'd be awesome.
Okay. Yeah. Well, see, the good thing was my mother was really good with money. We didn't have a lot of money. We were, were living on food stamps and stuff like that. So we didn't have money growing up. It was a little small town, a little 3A town for all you Texas football fans. 3A town, not a lot of people. 7,000, 8,000 people. But my mother was very good with what little she had. So I did see, and my sisters also. I'm the youngest of three siblings, two older sisters. And as they were growing up, my mother kind of instilled budgeting and being right with money with them. And I just kind of observed from far um, that aspect. And I could see how they would save money and buy something, save money, buy it. And by the time I got into my working age, I started working at 13. I was actually paying taxes at age 13, getting a paycheck, working for the school. They had a little summer program for lower income families where you can start working at 13. So at 13, I had a job in the summer. I would work at a summer school, the cafeteria. I think I did that for 2 years, and another year I did another thing. But I would save my paychecks at that time. I remember the funny thing is that I was at work one day and the older cafeteria ladies were talking to me, and I said, no, I still have my first three checks. I hadn't cashed them yet. I had three full paychecks there that I hadn't cashed yet. So I think that was the early part where I was okay with money. Everything was fine. I didn't really have anything I wanted to buy. I bought all my school clothes when I was from junior high on. I bought my own school clothes. My mother didn't have to buy anything. Um, so that was fun for me to do that. That was an awesome feeling. I had to burden my mother. Hey, I'll buy my own school clothes, Mom. Don't worry about it. But transitioning into working from 13 and then getting an actual job at 16, then, I was making a lot more money. It wasn't a lot more, but it was more. I saved up for my first car, in 6 or 7 months. I saved $1,000, put on down a car. I got my first car. So everything was good up until I went to technical school, here in Houston. Um, Once I went through my technical school, I was working as a server at an Italian restaurant, going through school, doing the 14-hour days, whatever we had to do. Everybody had to do it in college to get it done, right? Um, and still, I wasn't making a lot of money then. We were paying the bills, but I wasn't getting any debt. I had no debt still. And then I walked into the workforce for real for my career, and then the money got a little better. But still, I still would not go into debt. I still just paid the bills. I still holding on to how my mother had taught me, just pay the bills. And, if you have extra money, go ahead and take something, buy something, whatever. Um, and it wasn't until I was debt free, really, until I think when I got hired at my last job that I spent the most time at, I was debt free. I didn't have a car payment. We were renting. We didn't own a house or anything. So I was driving a beat up 90s. I can't remember the year anymore. It was a 90 something Grand Am beat up. AC worked. AC worked fine. I had a 95 Grand Am before that. That was paid for, and that rode me through all the way till I bought that. I think it was a 98 or 99 Grand Am. That was beat up too. But I never wanted to have a new car or anything like that. I never wanted that. And I think that's my mother, her frugal side of me, just not wanting to do that. But when I finally made it into this last, and we went from San Antonio. I was in San Antonio for 8 years. I started out career in Houston, and I made I made good money there. And then I moved to San Antonio. I was there for 8 years, and then I spent all those 8 years trying to get back to Houston. And I finally got back to Houston. When I got back to Houston, the money got really good, because I knew when I left, the money got really good. So then we started toying around with finance and stuff.
So at this entire time, all the way before you moved to Houston, you were debt free. You were just living frugally.
Didn't have any debt. I had a credit card because I don't know why I got a credit card, but I got a credit card. I didn't carry a balance on it. I remember I was scared to death the first time to use that thing because I thought it wouldn't work. And I'm like, is this thing real? Is this a real card? And I walked into it was a burger place we were going to lunch, and I was like, yeah. And I was waiting for him to and then the receipt came out. Like, oh, it worked. All right. That was my first experience with a credit card. And I was, 21 years old. I think my first time I ever used a credit card. And that was it. And I had that card, and, it's gone now. But, I was debt free up until that point, until I got to where I was making substantially more money, and figuring out that bad mindset of, hey, I deserve this. I've never had this stuff. It's time for me to take care of me, or I want some stuff now. I can afford it, right? I can afford it. Yeah. So that's how we got into that.
Gotcha. Holy cow, man. That's incredible that your mom instilled that into you. And I kind of identify with that a lot. My grandfather, I spent a lot of time around him growing up, and my sisters made fun of me. I grew up with two older sisters. They were like 6 years older and 8 years older than me. And they always made fun of me, and they say I've got money from my first birthday because I've just always been a saver, man. So I'm curious, man, did you end up cashing those checks finally?
Eventually, yes. I ended up using it for school clothes. That's what I used it for. All my money went to school clothes because I wanted nice school clothes. I wanted the Tommy Hilfigers everybody was wearing. I wanted the new Ken Griffey Jr. Nikes at the time. If date myself like that, but yeah, and they were nice clothes, and I bought everything for myself, and it was awesome. I loved it.
Wow, that's awesome. And it's funny, man. Tommy Hilfiger's coming back. It's like it's in now. So if you pull all those clothes out, you'll be back
I refuse to wear Tommy Hilfiger now because I wore it in 8th grade. So it's like I'm not a kid anymore wearing Tommy Hilfiger. All right.
Absolutely. Wow, that's amazing. Okay, so you moved to Houston. You did all that. You were doing well. You got to Houston, and the money got good. Money is interesting, man. When you make some of it, you're like, it's going to keep on coming. It's going to keep rocking. Let's live a little bit better. So what was going on there?
So the actual first time I financed a vehicle, it was kind of out of necessity. I had gone to visit my kids in San Antonio, and then while I was down there, I struck a deal with a guy that gave me that Grand Am that was that beat up Grand Am. And I went and I got another car from him, and we ended up selling that Grand Am and bringing that new car back. Well, the new car on the way home died coming back to Houston, and we had a tow truck go get it, and we came and I messed with it. I got it fixed. Then I drove it for probably about a month, and then if for car guys know, the camshaft broke in half. So rather than dumping money into it, I said, okay, money's good enough now. I can afford something. I didn't want to go full blown brand new $50,000 car. I was like, there's a used 2002 Tahoe on the lot, and this was back in 2010, I think. And 2002 Tahoe was perfect. It was 60,000. I was like, yeah, I'll take that one. Well, it was in-house finance, so the in-house finance $9,000 for 1 year. And it was 6 months. The original thing was 6 months. We're going to do it for 6 months. And then, I talked to the owner before we were cordial with each other, and he knew my name and all that. And he sat down and said, no, we'll do it for a year for you. I said, oh, great. So the payments on that were like $900 a month, simply to get the $9,000 paid off in a year, wherever it was. It was an astronomical amount of car payment, but it wasn't finance. It was in-house. So I was just paying money to them. They would just take it out of my paycheck. So that was the first one. And then I ended up leaving that job. So I still had, I think, like 6 months left on it to pay it. So I would just go back every month and drive to the dealership and pay it and pay it and pay it. So that was my first finance vehicle that actually we paid off, and we're back at zero again till that point. And then when I moved to that new job, that's when the real money hit. Okay, every point in my career. You
talk about it like a drug addict or something. You're like, oh, like an alcoholic.
I recently went on the Social Security website. You have your working years. from when you started working till now. And every year it's more and more and more and more. And there's never a dip. It was always up. And the later I got, the more money I made until, we've been making what we used to before I left the job. I was making consistently, 6 figures, turning a wrench, which is, that people don't believe that as a mechanic that you can make that much money. And you can. And I'm not ripping anybody off, or I wasn't ripping anybody off. I don't do it anymore. But when you make that kind of money and you're not used to making that kind of money, and then it comes into the, I deserve it. I've never made this much. I deserve a new truck. And shortly after, my wife deserves a new Tahoe. And shortly after that, I deserve new furniture, or I deserve, it was so much. It basically was, if I could make the payment, I was getting it. If I could somehow, because I would never be overextended to a point where I was like, I can't pay this, or, I would always sit down and actually think about, hey, we can or can't do this. And if it was just too much, we wouldn't do it. But, there comes a point where you do that too many times and then you have no paycheck left. And that's where we were.
So really the thought process shifted. It went to because there's in every great book, anybody that's been successful, they talk about the human mind is so powerful. It can justify anything. And that's, if you study history, people go to war over really crazy things just because they can justify it in their mind. So your justification in your head was, I deserve this. My wife deserves this. We've worked hard for this. We've earned this.
Yep. That's exactly what it was. And we dug ourselves man, it was a big hole, and we didn't even know it was a big hole. I think that I talk to people now, and I sit down and I listen to how their situations are, and they don't really know how bad it is because they've never written it down, or they've never, they just make the payments, and everybody just makes their payments, and they're okay if they're above water, or they're barely making it, or whatever. They're just making their payments, and they don't know how bad it is. There's some, unfortunately, that hit that wall and really, really hit a low point where they just can't pay their bills and they start losing their cars, or they get repossessed or something like that. Thankfully, I didn't have that. But it definitely strung us out a lot. The actions that I did we strung us out completely too much.
Wow. So how long were you in that phase of, I'm making money, I deserve these nice things, until how long was that phase until you got to this is getting out of control? What have we done?
Okay. So it really skyrocketed in 2014. Up until 2014, it was really good. But 2014, something happened, and the money there was just so much work, and I was making so much money. And in the 2 year, this was a 2-year span of 14 to 16 that I somehow pulled in $79,000 of debt. In 2 years, I was able to rack that up because the money was so good. And since I was 100% commission, I'd have a good paycheck and it would cover everything. I would have a bad paycheck, and we wouldn't be negative, or we'd go overdraft, but I knew, oh, that's okay. I made more this paycheck. I could always catch up. I would always make a little more hours the next paycheck that would cover that. Always. It was never like I was an hourly employee and I just knew every week what I was getting, or every 2 weeks what I was getting. If I knew I had a certain amount on this paycheck, well, man, I know I don't have enough for this one. I have to work 3 times as hard in this pay period to cover what I'm going to be missing on that last pay period. And that was what those 2 years were. It was just you'll work and hours and hours and hours. That's how it was. That's how I guess I kept myself out of complete trouble, because I would always out earn it. It was a cycle. I would be down. I would out earn it. I would come back down. I would out earn it. It was just a big cycle like that.
So you were living the cycle of living paycheck to paycheck.
Yes.
And you would throw out more debt than you can actually handle, but then you'd hurry and bust your butt to get the work under it before it hit the ground. Really?
Yeah. Yes, exactly. And whenever my wife, whenever we decided, this is too much and I can't do this, she had no idea where we were at, because she would always say, well, we pay all the bills. I said, yeah. Behind the scenes, I'm cranking it right now. I am dog tired. I'm this, I'm that. And, yeah, I'm paying the bills, but man, this is unsustainable. What it became, it just became unsustainable. I couldn't do it anymore. And that's when I really started to figure, hey man, this has to stop,
Wow. So the buildup, we're going to get to the crash here in just a second, but the buildup to that, like physically, like as a man, emotionally, how were like, did you know, like, cause you, man, I mean, if you know what you're doing, I guess, let me ask you this. Were you aware of what you were doing in the moment? Like, hey, we're overextended, but I can get it done. And then you bust your butt.
Yeah. Yeah. I was always aware of it.
Okay.
I was always aware. And like I've told people, I always thought I could out earn my stupidity, and I was doing it. I was out earning it every single paycheck. I was out earning my stupidity. But all it took was one or two bad paychecks to really start to, oh man, this is it. And then boom, a good paycheck, and then boom, another good paycheck. And then we'd be fine. And you pay the bills. Everything's coming in, everything's going out. We had no savings. I mean, making $10,000 a year with no savings. Everything is just payments, 2 cars, and then, oh, guess what? I'm gonna buy a house now. In the middle of this, that's when I bought my house in the middle of 2014, closed in 2015. And I decided, I need a house now, so let's just add that to the fire. So now a $1,700 mortgage payment comes into it. So that even stretched it out even further.
And it was it was you, the person, the individual getting stretched.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm. Yep. It was exhausting is what it was. It just, and the way we ended up figuring out, well, not even that, how we ended up to that point, it was, man, I struggle to think about the exact moment, because it was just a buildup it was only 2 years. I mean, it was 2 years. When I write it down on paper, it's like, man, this was only 2 years. It took you 2 years to get $80,000. What would have happened if you had this money when you were 20? I'd have a freaking $500,000 of debt right now.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, man. That's what's mind blowing to me is it's so easy to get into debt. It is so easy. And so you knew what you were doing. What was the moment where like you broke? Or before this, like what was the family dynamic? What was it like between you and your wife? Because, this is something that people don't talk about often, but husbands and wives, we clash, right? Just there's the man, there's the woman. My perspective is like the man thinks completely differently. Like we've got the testosterone where we want to go out and hunt. We want to go gather. The woman has more of a nurturing mentality and so naturally there's like the clash, right? Mm-hmm. And what was it like when you add this added pressure of husband is stressed out. He's maxed out.
Well, me and my wife we'd always have discussions. You got to call them discussions, right? I don't want to say we would have pretty heated discussions when she found out, because I kept it from her forever. But to her credit, she said, I want to know nothing about money. You handle it, right? And I'm okay. I'll handle it, no problem. So I paid all the bills. I did all that. She had no idea how much we had in our bank account. She had access to it whenever she wanted to, but she just refused to check it. She would just rely on me and say, hey, can we do this? And most of the time it was no, because we didn't have any money. So we didn't take vacations. Like most people, even when they're in debt, they'll swipe a credit card and well, I lied, I did that too. I did that twice. Up until we got a certain amount of credit cards, because as I was building through this, my credit score got high. So all of a sudden I started getting these mailers, right? And everybody wants to give you a credit card. Sure. I applied for all of them. I got all of them. Ended up with 22 credit cards. That was in-store credit cards. That was Visas, MasterCards, Amazons, Chase, Discover. I had every color of the rainbow. I had it, and there was a balance on every single one of them. The store cards were, man, they'll get you every time. But the second one, like I said, my wife and I she didn't want to know anything about it. But once we did, and I started to say, hey, we can't do this kind of things because we don't have any money. She's like, what do you mean you don't have any money? We don't have any money. I'm paying everybody else. I don't have any money. We can't take any, more vacations, because at this point we were already swiping two vacations, $2,000 a pop. You know, I was paying for a vacation for 2 years, you know, that I took 2 years earlier, and I was still paying for that vacation.
Wow.
You know, and so we would get in discussions, and I think the best part of my wife was uh, that she kind of just puts it on me. You know, it's not a bad thing. I enjoy that. Just, hey, I'll take care of it. You just hang on. I'll take care of it. But whenever we decided, okay, this is too much, let's me and you. I told her, you're gonna have to come in here with me, and you have to see where we're at, because if you don't know where it is, and I start cutting left and right, you're gonna be really upset. You know, because we're not gonna get, you know, this cable. We're not gonna get that shirt or anything. We're not gonna go anywhere. We're not gonna do anything. So I need you to know this is gonna happen. So we're gonna sit down, and I'm gonna lay it all out there for you. And yeah, that's when, you know, when the proverbial hit the fan, you know.
Mm. What was that conversation like? Like, how tense was? I mean, was that a tense moment? Was that like a mile marker in your relationship?
Yes, it was a mile marker in the communication, of our relationship, because I was free to discuss, you know, how really bad it was, and she understood how bad it was. So she didn't blame. I mean, she blamed herself because she wasn't involved. But I said, that's okay. It says, this is my fault. I did everything. Now, you could have said no to that Tahoe, but I wasn't going to let you say no to that Tahoe. You know, you know, and she wasn't going to say no either. Right? Yeah, I'll take a new Tahoe. So it really helped when we did start and sit down and talk about it. It really opened up the communication lines. And so I think we're closer now than we've ever been. We can talk about anything, anytime, and because of that. And it's simply just because we started talking about money.
Wow. Isn't it crazy, man? It's so wild to me that, like, so much of our life, you know, you pick your partner, and then that's who you're going to spend the rest of your life with. And then, like, we have these, well, if you don't have a good relationship, you develop these segments of your life that you don't share with that person about. And
Mm-hmm.
it's like this thing in the back of your mind, and financially, this is a lot of people. It's that thing in the back of your mind that you're not disclosing to them. You know, you need to bring it up. You know, they should probably know it's there. It's like, nah, another time. And it never happens. And then when it does, it explodes typically, but then it forms like a tighter bond, and like
Mm-hmm.
two people are now becoming closer to one. So is that how you feel? I mean, that's what you
Yeah,
said.
absolutely.
Way
Yeah, it's
closer.
we're closer than we've ever been. I mean, we've only been married. This will be 10 years this year, but this is definitely since we started back at 2018 or the end of 2017, and we laid it all out and we said we're going to do it. It's been probably the best 2 years of our lives.
Wow. That's amazing, man. I'm
Yeah.
glad to hear that. And so when that conversation happened, what was like the next steps? Like, you had the communication opened up, she found out what was going on, how bad it all was. What I guess, what year was that? Was that like 2015, 2016? And
That
then,
was no, we didn't. That was the end of 2017. Is because we didn't build up to it. It was, this is where we're at. We're done. Start. I mean, there was no. We're not walking into this thing. We're going to sprint to it. And we decided to do it because once, you know, I could get into her head. Look, we got X amount of dollars coming out every month, and that X amount of dollars could be doing a lot more than what it's doing right now, paying everybody else. She's like, yeah, let's do it. And I said, well, let's do it. So, and that's where I got lucky. In a lot of situations, and a lot of spouses, they are the spenders of the relationship. So when you have a spender that keeps spending, and they don't want to get on board with saving, because you're going to take away their fun, you're going to take away their savings. Their spending. So my wife, thank God, she wasn't like that. She was fully on board. She didn't give me any trouble. She said, let's do it. Let's do it. So we're like, game on, baby. Let's do it.
wow. See, and that's what's so amazing to me. It's like, when you do something together, it doesn't matter what it is. If you're doing it together, you're having a good time. And it could be like, we can spend money together, we can have a good time. We can get out of debt together, we can have a good time. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it doesn't sound as sexy
Yeah.
when you're getting out of debt, but it can be something that pulls people together. And the pulling of the togetherness is like fulfillment to the soul. It's really weird. Where spending is kind of like, I don't know. It's short term. where the connection of like getting out of debt is maybe more long term. I don't know. Is that how
Yeah,
you feel?
well, it just depends on how far debt you are, really. If it's something that you look at and you're going to have to do this for 3 years, then yeah, I could see how that would be really, really hard and stressful on a situation when you got to cut down so bad for 3 years. But and that's we would have been in that situation if we wouldn't have gone just all in, and nothing's going to stop us. I didn't want to be paying off this. This was probably a 2-year process, and I refused. I said, I'm not doing this for 2 years. So I'm going to do everything I can. I'm going to work extreme amount of hours to get this paid off as absolutely possibly fast as I can, because I don't want to do this for 2 years. I want out now.
Dude, that's what I love about you, man. Your mentality is like, if it can be done, I'm going to do it. And if it can be done quicker, I'm going to do it faster. You know, like
it was just shortcuts. I need shortcuts everywhere. That's what I'm looking for. Time is money at this point.
Oh my gosh. I love that, man. So what was the peak? What was the final dollar amount of the total debt had racked up to before you turned the corner and started attacking it?
When we sat down and we listed everything out, it was $79,277.77.
Holy, when you say that, does it still hurt?
It hurts. I can imagine it hurt back then, but it don't hurt at all now. But yeah, it was a great motivation. And how we turned the corner. It's funny that how I decided, yeah, okay, it's better for the family. It's great. All that, we had already gone through those emotions. But my coworker that I'd worked with for the past 10 years, he decided he was getting out of debt. He was going to do it. He started, talking to me about it. Now, we had not decided at this point. We were still living in La La Land at this point. And he started talking about it, and he mentioned his name, Dave Ramsey. And I said, oh, you know what? I think I've heard of Dave. Everybody's heard of Dave Ramsey. Even if you don't know who Dave Ramsey is, you've heard the voice probably just, going on the radio. And he said, yeah, I'm reading his book, and I'm going to get out of debt and all that. So immediately the competitive spirit takes over in me and says, nah, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to do it before you. And he said, well, how much debt you have? I don't know, but I'll still do it before you. So thank God I have that spirit, because then it became, that just amped it up. Another said, I got to beat him. So, he had less than I did. He had somewhere in the 50 or 60,000, and I had almost 80. And I said, I'll do it in a year. I said, I promise you, I'll do it in a year. And there's no way you'll do it in a year. I said, no, I'm doing it in a year. And you have less than me, and I'm still going to do it in a year, and I'm going to do it before you. And so I came home, I told my wife, I said, we got to beat Bob. His name was Bob. I said, we got to beat Bob to this goal. She said, let's go, game on.
And she's like, what did you just sign us up for?
Oh, no, she was all in because she knows Bob. So she was like, okay, let's do it.
She wants to kick his butt too.
Oh, yeah, let's do it. Yep.
Oh my gosh, I love it. So that conversation led you to start figuring out how to get out of debt.
Yeah. But what really got me is what Dave Ramsey had said, and he repeated it until I hadn't heard Dave Ramsey say it, but he said, you're going to change your family tree. And that's the one thing that I think really pushed me over the edge. You got to change your family tree, meaning this branch of my family is never going to know what debt is, period. So my kids are not going to know what debt is. They're not going to have school debt. They're not going to have credit cards. They're not going to have school. They're not going to have anything. And if I can get us out first, then I can start to teach them the ways to stay out of debt. That is the main driving force of this whole thing, was when he said, you can change your family tree. And if I can teach those kids to be fruitful and without debt and live their best life, I've made it, right? Because I don't want them doing what I did and going stupid and racking up credit cards and cars and all this stuff and having that weight put on them. If I can have them avoid that, that really turned it on. That sticks to me to this day of changing my family tree. So that branch is never going to have that problem anymore.
Wow. Because of the work that you and your wife put in.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
That's amazing. Wow. Because if you think about it, I've always been like the changing your family trajectory has always been my thing. Same thing as tree, but trajectory, like that catches me. Like what am I doing? Like, what is the one decision I'm making that could shift it? Like maybe we're on a good path, and if I make the wrong decision, it goes like, oh, that one hurts me. And it's the same kind of thing. Like you were going down this $79,000 in debt and climbing fast. And one moment in your life changed like the direction of that trajectory of your family tree forever in the positive, man. That's so thank God for whatever, events in your life that happened the way they did. And thank God you're a competitive person and you wanted to kick Bob's butt.
That's what it was, man. I tell you, that was, I think, the family tree and beating Bob was my main motivators of that whole thing. And I told him, I'm going to beat you, buddy. And I did.
I feel bad for Bob. Bob's got it coming. So, okay, so you're $79,000 in debt. He mentions Dave Ramsey. Do you immediately go out and get a book or start listening to his radio?
He was reading the book. He was reading the book. And as he was talking, like this would happen like every day, he would say something, or he would listen to the radio program at whenever it would come on. So I would just, because we would work right next to each other, so I would hear his radio. His radio was like our radio, for him and us. So we'd listen to so I would listen to his show, and they would just, I just hear, on the background, just hearing what he had to say. And then I would come home and talk to my wife, just here and there. I would kind of give her, Bob listened to this guy, something about debt. She's like, at this point we hadn't had that conversation yet. But as the more and more I talked to my wife, because this happened 2 or 3, this about a week went by. And every day I would think about it. He would talking, like, man, what would it be like if I didn't have any of these payments? That'd be freaking amazing if I didn't have these payments. I'm like, well, maybe I should think about this. And I talked to my wife just briefly about it. And then I texted Bob and said, what's the name of that book? And he texted me about it. He said, oh, are you going to do it? I said, we'll read the book. We're going to figure it out. So my wife put it on her Kindle. And the first thing in the book is, you list your debts and from smallest to largest, and you find out what the number is. And that's when we found out what it was. So for the next, 3 or 4 nights, she would just read it out loud. While we were in bed, she would read the book out loud, and we were learning how to do it, and we would write it down. And the plan was you write it down and take the smallest one, and then you start chipping away, throwing everything at it, and budget. And we learned how to do a budget. We learned how to live on almost nothing. I was probably, I was living on a lot less. I stopped going out to lunch. I stopped all the stuff that normal people do every day that they just don't know what they're doing, all that unconscious spending. I canceled, gym memberships. I canceled, subscription services, dropped my cable down. And that was within the first 2 or 3 days. I got it down to that within the first 2 or 3 days. And then there was nothing. There was nothing left. Like, this was a certain amount that was going to be paid, and I didn't feel like that was enough. I said that amount right there is not enough for me to make a dent in this thing. So I was sitting in the lunchroom one day, and I was just thinking, how can I hit this thing in the mouth right out the gate and really, really punch it in the mouth? And I'm just thinking. And Dave Ramsey says certain things, and you're going through that process. And I said, what if I sell my truck? Now you got to understand, this truck was, I'm a guy. It's my pickup truck. This is the truck that I built. I built this truck to make it exactly the way I wanted. There was nothing I had to do to that truck. I had that truck perfectly to the way the headlights shine. They would match the fog lights. I went through painstaking process and going through bulbs and checking to make sure those headlights were exactly how I wanted to shine at the exact luminosity that I wanted. That was just the headlights, okay? So you can imagine the rest of the vehicle, painted, matched everything, replaced bumpers. I went into the motor and I souped it up and put, all kinds of performance parts on it. I lowered it. That truck was my baby, and in that instant, I said, I'm selling my truck. It's like I didn't even think about it. It was, I'm selling the truck. So for me, and I text my wife. I said, I'm going to sell the truck. And she texted back, what? I said, yeah, I'm going to get rid of the truck. I'll get another one. Don't worry about it. He said, but you love that truck. I said, yeah, but $15,000. Let's get rid of it. We'll knock it out right back. If I can take a swing and knock out 15 grand right now, I'm taking that swing. He said, okay, I guess if you want to do it. I said, yeah, I'm doing it. And I work in a shop. Everybody knows my truck. And when everybody loved my truck. So if somebody knows that that truck is for sale, let the bidding war begin. So
my man.
So, I texted the first guy that I knew that I said, hey man, I'm selling my truck. He's like, for real? I said, yeah, I'm selling my truck. How much you want for it? I said, you're going to buy my truck. How much you want for it? I said, look, man, I just want out of it. I want out of it. Just give me what I owe and we're out. I said, all right, I'm buying it. A week later, we were signing the papers and he drove my truck. A week later, I had sold and $15,000 went off the rolls just like that. And, I still had that 2002 Tahoe, fully paid for Tahoe in the garage. So guess what I'm driving now? Paid for Tahoe. So I got rid of $15,000 within the first 2 or 3 weeks, was gone. And I freed up $400 a month in a payment and it said, okay, now we're going to roll. Here we go. Now we're starting to roll. So that amped that up. And it was probably 3 or 4 months after that. It still wasn't happening fast enough for me. I wanted more. I wanted it. It was still looking like a 2-year track. I said, I'm not doing that. No. So I told my wife, I'm getting a second job. That's it. I'm getting a second job. She's like, you really want to do that? I said, it's not that I want to do it. I have to do it. We have to get rid of this. So now I really sympathize with people that say they can't find a job because I applied and I applied and I applied and I applied. And then the number that we have recently found out was over 100. It was over 100 applications and only one called me back. So I sympathize with people that say nobody's hiring, even when they say they're hiring. But that's where it was over 100 applications and only one called me back, and it was Pizza Hut. Pizza Hut gave me a shot.
Wow.
He said, come, you want to deliver pizzas? I said, let's do it, buddy. He said, how many hours you want to work? I said, well, if 40 is full-time, I want 39.9. That's what I want. I said, if you don't want a full-timer, you want a part-timer, I'll take 39.9 hours. He said, whoa, hold on. Okay. We'll just come in and we'll talk. So the day after I got that call, I'm sitting in Pizza Hut. And I meet with there's 3 or 4 other people that are getting interviewed. So I sit down and I sell them. I sell them on me, and I tell them, hey man, I'm just trying to get out of debt. If you want somebody that's going to come in anytime you want them, and it's going to work and shut the hell up and put my head down and go, then you sign the papers right now. And I sold him on that. He said, all right, come back tomorrow. We'll get you driving. Next day, I'm in there after work. I'm out there on the road driving Pizza Hut. So for the next 10 months after that opening, when I got hired, 10 months after that, no days off. Monday through Sunday, I was at a job. Monday through Friday, and sometimes Saturday at my full-time job, and then working those days under that at Pizza Hut, and then Saturday and Sunday, at working at Pizza Hut. Never had a day off for 10 months. That's what it took. And then still, after that, wasn't happening fast enough still. I said, okay, all right. So I got 2 jobs now. I'm probably throwing maybe $2,000 a month now in debt. It's still not enough. It's not enough, and it's not going to get me where I want to be. I said, okay. Honey, I'm selling your Tahoe. That one didn't go over well. I say it didn't go over well. She flinched. But she was like, let's do it. All right, wow. Sell the Tahoe. So the thing, I didn't want to have to go to the whole private sale and have to have people come over here and look at the truck and drive it and all this stuff. So I just went down to the dealership and said, how much you give me for it? They said, I owed $22,000 on it. And they said, well, it's only worth $16,500. We'll give you $16,500. I said, all right, give me $16,500. I go to the bank. I got me the loan difference. I just got me a small personal loan to cover the difference. So $22,000 gone, went down to $5,000 or $6,000, whatever that loan was. So I moved $22,000 out, but I was left with $5,000. So we just cleared $15,000, another $15,000. So after that, then it was manageable and I could see the finish line. At that point, I had freed up another $500 a month when I got rid of that Tahoe. So at this point, now we're starting to put $3, $4, $5, $6,000 a month towards the debt, with the 2 jobs and working crazy hours and no days off, and going out at 5 in the to go. I got to get my workout in, right? So I go to the gym at 5 in, and then I would come home somewhere in the 12 to 1 a.m. range that day, and that went on for 10 months. Yeah. So.
No kidding, man. And
Yeah,
did you ever feel it? Like, did you ever skip a day or,
No.
like,
No.
really?
Yeah, it was a go. It was just my mind had shifted so much that that's all I thought about. That was laser focused. This is what has to be done, and it has to be done faster. So once I had switched that mindset, there was nothing that was going to stop me after that.
Wow. Holy cow. So poor Bob. There's laser focused Reno, and then there's poor Bob.
And Bob's over here. I think I still want to go to lunch. I don't want to do that. Whatever. Whatever. So, dude.
Let's go back. We'll get to Bob and how that, whether you beat him or not, in just a minute. But what was it like to apply at all those jobs and only get one call back? And then on the other side of that is like, did you have any pride or ego or kind of conflict internally of driving pizzas and delivering pizzas?
No, I showed no prejudice to any job. I applied for a dishwasher. I applied for a valet. I applied for grocery stores. I applied for anybody that said hiring. Anybody that said hiring, I had put my name in that hat. I didn't care. I needed income. At that point it was an income issue, and I needed more income. So I had no prejudice whatsoever. I would have done whatever the hell they wanted to. If they hired me to do it and they paid me for it, I would have done it.
Wow. That's an incredible mentality. And, I think I'm always thinking about which came first, the chicken or the egg. Did Reno get out of debt because of that mentality? Or did that mean, I think the mentality creates the activity, the actions that are required to get you out of debt, man. Mm-hmm. And what was it like applying over 100 times and only getting one call back?
And that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm very sympathetic when people, and I used to be one of those people like, just go get a job. Well, I mean, everybody's hiring, get a job, but I was in my full-time job. So I didn't know until you go out there and you try to find a part-time job. And this whole, everybody's online. Nobody looks at you face to face and talks to you anymore. So I think that's a great disservice that we're doing to the workforce is not sitting down and actually having an interview, I don't know if they just want to save time or they just I want to get the exact right person without interviewing 40 people or whatever that is. Because they were all online applications. Because I went into AJB and said, yeah, I'd like to speak to your manager, about a job. Oh no, you have to do that online. I'm like, why? Where's the manager? I sit down and talk to him right now. That's just ridiculous. I mean, if I sit in front of you, I'm going to sell you on me. I promise you. So, but it was all online. And I don't know if there's just so many that they just don't check, or I don't know, maybe because it's part-time, or maybe they just didn't like my availability. Cause I mean, I was available from 5:30 to, 2-3 o'clock in the morning was my availability, and every day on weekends. That's for a part-time work. That's usually prime hours, the afternoons, the evenings, and the weekends. I was available for all that. And, Pizza Hut was the only one that called.
Oh my gosh. That's incredible, man. That's amazing. So, okay. So you sold if it's not bolted down, it's getting sold around Reno.
Yeah. So. Yeah. That's what it said. Yeah. I said, if kids, what's that? What they said, the thing says, sell so much stuff, the kids think they're next.
And you don't realize how much crap you collect. Like we've all, as Americans, there's a great joke by George Carlin, and it's like a 20-minute bit, but he's talking about like everywhere we go, we got to take our crap. We got to get a house. We need a bigger house to carry our crap. And then when we go on vacation, we need to take smaller crap. And the crap only has, it just goes on and on and on. And so anyway, that's incredible. So you sold your pride and joy, your baby truck. Like, love this thing. Your wife's car gets sold. You've got now a part-time job that you're working a ton of hours for to provide. You got your full-time job. You're going to bed at 1 or 2 o'clock in the morning, and then you're waking up at 5 to go to the gym to continue on. You do this for 10 months.
10 months straight.
And you were going to do this as long as it took, but you wanted to accelerate it to get it done quicker.
Mm-hmm.
What was happening next? What happened next in that process?
So as we were starting to really lean into it and really start putting money to it, everything was we were down to, probably, let me look because I wrote it down. We were down to 2 loans, because at that point, the only thing that we had left was 2 or 3 loans. And at this point, yeah, I'm run down, right? It's tiring, but I can see it. And at this point, I make the declaration of, it's got to happen by the end of December. I'm looking at the numbers. Oh, are you still there?
Yeah, I'm still here. We lost your video though.
Yeah, and I guess let me plug it in. I guess the battery went low. You see what is wrong with these iPhones, man? I'm telling you what.
Yeah,
my Android wouldn't have failed at all. I tell you that right now. Hang on, let me plug this thing in, because you need special stuff here. All right.
Yeah, I don't know why these things require power now, man. That's crazy.
Hang on, let me do this. Okay. All right, can you still hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
All right, hang on. All right. Since I had to take my little earbuds out, let me see if I can hear you though. Can you talk?
Okay, so yeah, I can hear you good. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, barely, but don't worry about it.
Okay.
All right, now where was I?
We were talking about you were working all those hours and you wanted to accelerate it. You wanted to get it faster. You're getting close to getting out of debt, but you were getting worn down, and you see the finish line.
And I said, yeah, I had the declaration that it has to happen by the end of the year. I saw the number. I said, given where we're at and what we can do, I said, it's got to happen by the end of the year. I mean, there's no excuses. I don't care what it takes. If I have to work, if I have to find a 3rd job, I'll do it. It's got to be done by the end of the year. So at this point, this is probably October, maybe October, maybe September. It was in that range, and I made that declaration. And from that, it was kind of like a boost. It was like a little, you just challenged me again. You didn't challenge, I challenged myself, right? I said, that's got to be done. All right, let's go get it. So we did it, and I started to just, I don't know, it just kicked it in another gear. It was, I don't know where that gear came from. I don't know, I had it. But at that point, it was all or nothing, and we're going to go down really swinging to get this done by the end of the year. And December 27th. And December 27th, we made our final payment to our last loan, and we had 3 days to spare, and $79,000 gone, and it was 13 months that it took to get it done.
Holy cow. What did it feel like December 27th, clicking submit, sending that final payment off?
Oh, man, it wasn't, you click submit, and then you got to wait 3 days for it to clear the bank. So, it was, still waiting to make sure it's in the clear, right? But at that point, it was, we had already made a big old chart, a fill-in chart. We were every $1,000 we'd color in some lines and color in some lines. So that chart was, it had 3 lines left on the 27th, and we clicked submit, and we yanked that board down, and said, kids, come color these lines, and we're done.
Oh my gosh, I love it, man. That's incredible. That's an incredible story. And so you went from really this 2-year span of you and your wife, you're making amazing money, you're spending really well, you're like the American dream of the word consumer. You're just consuming everything in your path. And then you've got this phase where a buddy at work mentions Dave Ramsey getting up debt, and you just like kicking his butt. So you're like, okay, I'll do it too, I guess. And then you get laser-like focus for 10 months where you're going to bed at 1 or 2 a.m., you're waking up at 5 a.m., and you're doing this for 10 months straight, no rest, 2 jobs, and then you come to the finish line, and then it's all done. When you cross that finish line, and basically the way I look at this, like hearing you talk about this, basically you transform. I think you leave. It's almost like like when a snake sheds its skin. In my opinion, the way I'm looking at it is you've shed the skin of this old Reno, or like you've reached inside and pulled a version of you that's always been there and you've unleashed it. Is that how you feel about it?
I think it's a version that's always been there. I think um, it was just we just we got out of control. We just get out of control, and it's so easy. And when I talk to people now, I say, look, man, you can wander into debt, but you wander out. You got to pay it off. You can't expect that the government's going to come in and pay your student loans for you. You signed up for it, you're going to have to pay for it. If you just sign up that line for that truck or car and you don't want it anymore, then give it back. But if you want it, you're going to have to pay for it. And you can't be making those decisions anymore based on impulses or based on your emotions because it feels good, or because Sally over here has it, or Johnny over there's got this new truck and I gotta have a new truck, and I didn't fall into that trap. I didn't really fall into that trap. I didn't fall into buying stuff because other people were buying it. I bought stuff because I wanted it. I wanted that 80-inch TV that cost $5,000. I wanted that pickup truck that I wanted to make mine, and my wife, I wanted her to drive a nice new car. It wasn't because anybody else was doing it. It was simply because I wanted to do it, and there was nobody stopping me.
Wow. That's amazing, man. It's incredible. And so, and I agree. I agree with you 100%. I think that version of Reno has always been in there. And I think these things in life, these adversities, these hurdles, these things, and sometimes we put it in our own way, but it's almost like fate, or if you believe in a higher power, it's God going, listen, I need you to step up because I got another thing coming for you, and I need you to be ready. And that's amazing. And I'm glad you went through that. What did that do for you? Like, once you got into $79,000 in debt and you walk back into work, how did that shift your mind? Like, what was like because in my opinion, when you go through stuff like that, when you go through an adversity and you come in on the other side, it like clears the fog and you start to see the world in a different way. What did you start to see?
Yeah, well, it made me realize that I don't like being a mechanic. Is what it is. I think I never ever wanted to be a mechanic, to be honest with you. It was. I went to school. I graduated. I went out there. I did good. I learned. It was a job. I became really, really good at it. I made a lot of money at it. But I don't think I ever wanted to do that. To be honest with you. And when I crossed that finish line and I saw, man, I got expendable income here. Still, I'm working at that job, but every day it's like I don't want to be here anymore. Not only do I not want to be here, I don't have to be here anymore because I could go do something else because I don't have any payments. I don't owe anybody anything. So I can go start from scratch right now if I wanted to. And then that's what it did. It made me realize that I didn't want to be a mechanic anymore. It made me realize that I need to show people and teach people how to do this and walk them through this, because I think people that are in this amount of debt think it's going to take a severely long amount of time. And I can be there to show, no, it's not going to take a lot of time. You are going to sacrifice a lot, but it's not going to take that much time. It's if you can sacrifice a little bit, it's not, if you sacrifice a lot for a short amount of time, you're going to come out really, really looking good at the other end of it. And I'm living proof for that. And that's why I can tell people that hey, it only took me 13 months, which I wanted it in 12. So I'm still upset about the 13 months because I said I would do it in 12. So that still keeps me up at night. June, I put 0 to debt. I don't know why. I've always thought why June didn't have any money go to debt. I don't understand what happened, but June was the one month that kept me from hitting my goal. So maybe I was so tired. I don't know what happened. Maybe it was my birthday month. I was born in June, but whatever. I don't know. It was inexcusable and it happened, but.
Dude, I love how you're hard on yourself in the moment, talking about how you got out of $80,000 in debt, and you're still hard on yourself. But here's what's crazy. Here's what I think about. This is the type of stuff that scares the crap out of me. Think about it. If you never would have gotten out of debt, how many years you would have worked as a mechanic and doing something you didn't like. Deep down inside, you never wanted to do it. But until you got out of debt, you wouldn't have realized it until you did get out of debt. So you probably would have like finished your career as a mechanic doing something you despised for like 30 or 40 years. I mean, that's a scary thought.
Yeah, because I mean, there's guys in the shop, they're, 56 and 58 years old. They're 60 years old and they're still there, busting their butt and breaking their backs doing it. And I'm like, man, that's not going to be me. I can't do that. There's no way that I'm going to be 60 years old and coming in here and, replacing tires. I'm not going to do that. There's just no way. So I don't know if, I would have never got the opportunity if I didn't. I would have been there. I would have, no matter how much I say I wouldn't do it, I would have been there because I had no choice. I had to pay. I always kept, when we first would get into this debt, I would always tell myself, just 5 more years and we'll be fine. Those 5 more years, I said 5 more years for probably 8 years. I said that.
Wow.
Because I would just kept adding. I kept adding more stuff financed. And the notes were, the 5 years was on a car that I said, okay, well, 5 more years, and both of my cars are going to pay off and we'll be okay. But then, oh, well, I like that TV over there. I need that 80-inch TV. Let's put another $5,000 on it. Okay, let's do that. So that constantly was just a wheel. It just kept adding and adding and adding more debt. And that's, I would have still been there. I would have been in the 56 club or the 60 age club, still, showing up, getting up, going to work, and in the 30 degrees in the shop when it's in winter and 200 degrees in the summer when it's hot. Yeah.
That's when the cars roll in and the tires are melted on the floor.
Yeah.
The
shop is somewhere around 120 degrees in the summertime. I mean, there's thermometers in the shop and we see it.
Yeah, and I've never been, and we're not doing this now, but I've never been one to knock anybody that's doing it. But it just scares me because I was like you. I remember one of my experiences. I went to a Freebirds restaurant, and everybody always like makes fun of Walmart because they've got like the 80-year-old greeters, but you kind of expect that. But when I went to Freebirds one time to get a burrito made, there was a person on the other side making the burrito, and it was a guy, and he was like in his like late 50s, early 60s, and it just didn't make sense. Like it didn't add up to me. And I was like, what? And I never wanted to be that. And so that's more of what it was for me. I just never wanted to be in that position. And that motivated me enough to do that. So, but what do you got going on now, man? You took the switch, you're not doing the mechanic thing anymore. And now you're teaching people how to get out of debt, how to get their finances in order and really empower them. Tell us more about that.
Yeah, we're teaching, I've started an own business. I don't know if you can see that right there. Yeah. It's CEI Financial is the business that I started, and it's basically we're teaching people how money works. We're teaching people how to save their money, and if they're in debt, well then we'll put them on a plan to execute that debt. I'm still. It's hard for me with the way that I see the world and how I view my own situation, how to be nice to people when they refuse to do things that is in their best interest, right? I really want to help you, but I don't want it to take so long. So I need you to understand, if you want to be out, I can get you out, but man, you got to do what I tell you.
Yeah. I think that's one of the things that is going to be hard. It's going to be a struggle at first, but then it's going to be something that you learn. It's hard to want something for somebody more than they want it for themselves.
Yes, it
is. And what you did is very exceptional. And you're an exceptional person. You've got an exceptional wife with exceptional children. And all of you collectively came together to do what y'all have done. And that is so rare. What's wild is that Dave Ramsey teaches it in a way. Well, you see so many people do it on like a national scale that it seems common, but it's very uncommon. It's a very uncommon thing, what y'all have done. And it's really incredible. So it's hard because you're like, I'm not uncommon. I'm not exceptional. I just put in the work. I did what I needed to do, and I'm going to pay the price because it's my family, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to get my family to where we need to go. And you're like, why won't you do it, right? And so you just want to smack people, but you can't smack them. Smacking's not good.
Yeah, it's not going to work.
So, but that's incredible, man. My battery is winding down, but because it's an Apple, as you know.
Apple, right? Yeah.
So it really is, man. It's a privilege to know you, to talk to you, to work with you now. And it's amazing what you've done. And in my opinion, the best is yet to come. You doing that, from the way I look at this, it's like the training ground to be a successful entrepreneur. Can you look at what looks like a mountain, and can you turn that mountain in your mind into a molehill and go, you know what? We're going to crush this thing. And now there's strategies that you implemented, like mechanical things, like the snowball technique. Let's get some momentum, right? But it's really just going, come hell or high water, we're going to do this. We're going to do it. We've got plenty of time, just none to waste. Let's go full speed. Because I'm like you. I always feel like I'm running out of time, and I run full speed. There's two speeds. There's off and on. That's it. You know, I'm like an electric engine. Like it's just boom, an electric motor. So it's really incredible what you've done, man. And I appreciate your time and I really do. And what I love about you is that you genuinely care about people, and you care about them so much. It's like a brother, you know, like or a sister. I grew up with two sisters, and they love you so much that sometimes it gets a little rough, right?
Yeah.
So you want to push people across the finish line and get it done. So that's amazing, man. So people can find out more from you. How can they reach you? How can they get in touch with you?
So you can message me on my Facebook page. It's CEI Financial. You can email me at renoibarra@gmail.com. It's IBARRA. And you know, all social media, also Instagram, those things. It's all CEI Financial. They can get in touch with me there. But I'm always posting on my Facebook. I'm always at least 2 or 3 a day. I'm always posting some nuggets of information and stuff like that to help people out.
Absolutely, man. So CEI Financial everywhere on social media. And really, I look at you as a guy that you can help. I mean, if $79,000 in debt, you did it in 13 months, you can teach a lot of that, but it's also, and then you can also help them plan for retirement, get their retirement savings in order. How do you participate in the market and get good returns? How do you learn how to evaluate a financial decision? What are the 4 pillars of investing? Like, you can teach them all those things, but you can also teach them the mentality. And you're not somebody that's just reading from a book and then reiterating what the book said. You're a person that's doing it, has done it, and is going to continue to do it. So to me, that's incredible. That's profound. And that's why I try to hang out with a guy like you, because you're somebody actually doing it. And there's theory, and then there's reality. Somebody that has done it in reality is worth their weight in gold, man. So I love it. Reno, I appreciate the time, man. This was awesome. I hope you enjoyed this as much as I did. I'm fired up. I'm not going to get any sleep now.
Yeah, go get into some debt and pay it off, buddy.
You can wander into debt, but you got to work your way out.
But you can't wander out.
Awesome, Reno. Hey, man, thanks so much for the time. Have a good evening, brother.
All right, buddy.
Take care.